Hi creative friends, I'm Jane from Sustain My Craft Habit. Today I'm going to show you how you can use silica flower drying crystals to preserve whole blooms for all of your crafting needs. Welcome back to our channel. We love to use dried flowers in our crafting, especially in our resin crafting. So I've really been wanting to try out this silica powder for flower drying, and today in this video I'm going to show you how I dried those beautiful rose blooms. And here's an example of a dahlia I dried after last fall. It was at the very end of the season, so they were kind of looking rough, but I'm really excited this summer to dry all sorts of different flowers, and I want to show you how simple it is for you to do it yourself. Okay, did you get a beautiful bouquet of roses that are looking a little bit sad now? We're going to actually dry a couple of these blooms, and then we'll be able to preserve them and keep them for crafting later. So we don't want to wait until the blooms are too far gone. This beautiful red rose was just such a pleasure to watch. But we can see that some of the petals are starting to dry out. So we just want to pull out these bad petals. Inspect it. Are there any more? The rest look pretty nice. If you have any that are particularly starting to look rough on the outside, we'll just pull them off gently like this. Maybe even this one. Okay. And then we want to, well, this one's also looking a little bit. Just kind of gently pull them out. There we go. So now we want to trim the stem as close to the base as possible without having it all fall apart. So I have a pair of scissors. There we go. I'll trim it a little bit more. Okay. There we are. So that is nice and short in there. Then the next thing we need is a container. I'm going to use this one because I want it to also help to hold up my rose a bit, to keep it kind of closed rather than flopping open. If that's what you would prefer, then you can use a flatter container. The next thing we need is some drying crystals. So these are silica crystals that are used for drying flowers. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to open this up. The nice thing about these crystals is they are reusable, so after you've used them, you can reactivate them and reuse them over and over. I'm going to take some of the crystals and put it in the bottom of my container. So that's just the base. So I'm going to kind of make a pocket in the bottom and rest my rose inside. Take the whole rose and put it in there and try to shake it a little bit so he ends up making sure that the crystals coat the bottom. I know it's hard to see, but the goal is to really try to get the crystals into all the nooks and crannies of the rose petals. So I'm going to actually maybe use this second spoon and pull my petals and gently start adding the crystals all around the rose. Also going to start adding them right in between all the petals. Basically, the more crystal we get in there, the better the drying out will be. I'm kind of most worried about the very center of the rose because that is where it's hard to get the moisture out of, and if we don't get enough crystal in there, then there's a risk of the piece getting moldy later on. So just take a little bit extra time and get in there to those petals right in the middle. So you can't really see anything. There's actually a lot of space that the crystal is filling. So we'll just tap. And we're going to continue this to really cover basically all the way over the top of our rose. Really trying to get those down in there. Okay, so our rose is completely covered. Tapped it a bit to make sure the powder is in all the little nooks and crannies. And now we will leave it here for a few days and come back and take it, check on it, and then if it looks good, we will take it out. So my roses have been in this container for about 5 days. I'm going to take the lid off and check it. It's a bit hard to tell. It feels kind of dry. You can hear that. So now I would try to scoop it out, but it's a little, I don't have a lot of room in this container, so I'm going to try to do it this way. You can see how the rose is looking. It's darker than it was when it went in. It feels pretty fragile. Yeah, pretty. The leaves are quite fragile now, but it's very dry. Just going to shake out as much of the crystals as I can. And my petals came off. But there it is. It's much darker than it was originally. The petals have kind of come apart from the stem a little bit, so you just would have to be very careful to kind of hold it together still. The petals, they feel pretty paper thin, but it's beautiful how it's kept the shape. It has a little bit of a kind of powdery coating on there. It's very dry, very light, beautiful. This would be great to have for a resin project, which I may try to do with it, or in a shadow box if you are trying to preserve certain flowers from a special occasion. But I'm very impressed with how those turned out. Now this silica powder, if you remember, it had blue crystals in there which capture the moisture, but they were used up, so now you can reactivate this by dehydrating it in the stove again. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more nature-inspired DIY and craft ideas. And let us know, have you ever tried this silica drying powder for your flowers? And do you have any tips I'm really excited to try this with all kinds of our spring blooms, some daffodils and tulips. So I will let you know how that goes. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Bye.